Are the budgeting problems solved for the new sheriff, whoever it may be?
We have not yet had, we have had only one budget hearing so far, and that was for the prosecutor.
Right.
Most of the other ones are scheduled probably between the week of the 15th and the 20th.
Okay.
So we would anticipate the sheriff to come in and make a budget presentation.
So that'll be Sheriff Swanson, right?
That'll be Sheriff Swanson.
Okay.
So we would anticipate that. And again, last year, of course, we budgeted them at a higher amount than the other offices. If you remember, the other criminal justice offices took 10% cuts. The
Right.
administrative offices took 20% cuts. The sheriff actually was reinstated to his, I think, 2010 budget in the attempts for him to rehire people in order
Right.
to get the jail capacity up. I think because it took a period of time, and he's still working on that, the rehiring process, I don't think that he used all of his appropriation. So again, we'll look at his budget, for 2013 in the same light. But again, our goal for his budget will be to get the jail open to 502 beds, to have enough, corrections officers and other administrative people to get that done, and also to start looking at the road patrol and the other side of the house, the operations side of the house, to make sure that, again, the people that he laid off in late 2010, he's got enough people in there to provide adequate law enforcement to Stark County. So, I don't think there's going to be any difficult budget issues. We're semi-cautiously optimistic that with the sales tax and with the growing economy and so forth, that we see coming back, that next year certainly is going to be a much better year than this year, and we do not even yet have in hand the carryover numbers, but we should be getting those probably within the next week. But there are things we want to do. We want to try to keep everybody close to their 2011 budgets, maybe towards their 2010 budgets, which was larger, but we want to hold it in that range because there's a lot of other things that we recognize as commissioners that we just have to do, and one of them is drainage, and we all know that drainage is a multi-million-dollar problem, and we have to just start doing even some engineering prerequisites. An issue that we talked about this past summer on the Zimmer Ditch was another retention basin. I mean, building a retention basin is, from talking to the engineers, is several years away because you have to identify the property, do the engineering design, and then start looking for money and or funding it. So we want to start doing those kinds of projects. There's a lot of small drainage problems throughout projects through the county.
So you're basically...
We need a lot of IT infrastructure in the county that
Right.
has been overlooked for years. We have other capital needs, so we hope to set aside money to include and fund some of those discretionary organizations that got defunded. Such as the 4-H Ohio State University Extension.
Right, that list of
that
funds,
list of,
I forget what they call that.
The Fair Board and so forth. We would
Yeah.
hope to, refund those again. So there's, a lot of needs for the money. Our first priority always is safety, and we would hope to start creating a rainy day fund. And we
Right.
hope to be able to do that into the future.
So just because there is enough money, if there
Yeah.
were, to take all of county government back to the 2010 budget doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Doesn't mean
Is
it's
that
gonna
a
happen.
correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
In some cases, if somebody can come in and justify that is the right number of employees and the right need for us, and or it may be a 2010 number, but for other reasons. Again, I need that same amount of money, but now my priorities have shifted in this direction rather than in that direction in 2000. So what we asked for in our budget documents was we wanted everybody to come in with a presentation that would provide for their 2011 budget, which was a cut, I think a 15% cut from 2010,
Right,
which that's
right.
what led to the layoffs at the jail. And in addition to that, provide for a 2%, pay increase because almost all county employees have gone without for 4 to 5 years, depending on what office, and to provide for a 27th pay. So we knew that everybody's going to come in greater than 2011, and we said, if you have greater needs than that, to include capital needs, please provide additional justification.
But Prosecutor Ferraro basically came in yesterday with a 2010 budget, right?
That's what he came in with, yes.
But-
But he provided justification as to, why he needed the people. He had the list of personnel, which was a good thing to see. That's probably the most important thing. You can see that there's 14 people missing. We didn't get into the details, and we may get into further details with them as to whether there is a need for all 14. I mean, there may be some shifting in that. There may be more lawyers or less administrative people. you heard the question that we asked yesterday about, whether or not he intended to bring back, not to specifically single somebody out, but, David Bridenstine, who had 35 years experience, who just had a unique experiential history of, in particular, sanitary sewer issues and so forth, who's very, very critical to some of the issues that we're involved in right now with Canton on their WRF project and so forth. So, we're going to be looking at different aspects of this. We talked about direct indictment. We have to look at that and see what the costs are. And I think we have to factor in the fact that you probably can't rehire 14 people on day one, and therefore you don't necessarily need a full year's budget for 14 people on day one. You may need it on December 31, but it may take a period of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months, depending on what he wants to do. So all of these factors are going to be looked at, and then his budget in combination with everybody else's. Because ultimately what we do is we put everything on a spreadsheet, total them up, and start looking at the real needs of everybody and compare that to what we think is the amount of money that we have available for funds, in addition to the other things I'm talking about, which are non-operational. And that's the drainage issue, IT capital, roofs, other kinds of capital needs, the discretionary organizations and so forth. So we add all of that up, and there may be, in the end, an adjustment to everybody's budget, in order to make the numbers work.